Owners meetings in the books, and the Tush Push survives among other rules voted on, and some extensions for some star players around the league as well. On today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging out with us. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Please subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you are listening to this podcast. And if you already subbed up, hit the thumbs up, maybe the notification bell. Let us know that you stopped by. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers right now can get $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel when you win your first $5 bet. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started. The big news of the day is the Tush Push, and narrowly, Matt, it has survived. The Tush Push will still be legal. I don't know if any other penalties and formation ticky-tack calls might be called still from teams, and there's been some folks that pointed out that maybe there's a illegal formation that's part of it, even though the play itself will be legal otherwise, and pushing the quarterback forward there will still be legal now in the NFL. We do have a list now, according to Adam Schefter, of the 10 teams that voted for it to stay, and for this vote, you needed 24 out of 32 teams to vote it out for it to be gone. Only 22 of those teams. So they were 2 votes short of killing the Tush Push, Matt. Interesting, the teams, and we'll talk about the Tush Push and your thoughts on it. And we've kind of waited to talk about this just because we were waiting on the vote to make sure we had something to talk about rather than bringing it up again once the vote happens. According to Adam Schefter, the 10 teams that voted for it to stay, clearly the Philadelphia
Betting the Eagles were one of them.
Yeah. They were one. New Orleans Saints, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, New York Jets, and Tennessee Titans. Those are the 10 teams that kept it alive. And interestingly, the former offensive and defensive coordinator for Nick Sirianni's Philadelphia Eagles, Jonathan Gannon, and the Arizona Cardinals, and Shane Steichen's Indianapolis Colts voted for it to be gone. And
okay, I was sitting there thinking Saints offensive, new head coach was offense coordinator last year. They voted yes,
So one of 3. And actually, there was a quote that Warren Sharp pointed out from March from Nick Sirianni, who, by the way, got a extension we'll talk about. Nick Sirianni's quote from March about this vote. Quote, Jonathan Gannon, Kellen Moore, and Shane Steichen are head coaches because of the Tush Push, so I better have those 3 votes right there. Only one of the 3 was voted for it for Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'd also push back on Sirianni saying those guys are head coaches because of the Tush Push.
Yeah, I'd say, come on, man. Right. Give them a little more credit than that. Just because you're great centers and you're great at this play is not the only reason that they've had successful careers. A little bit of insight I can throw in there too is from the original owners meetings that I was at. That's a little more public and coaches and GMs are at. The first time it was voted, that was only a couple months ago, it was 16-16. So now, so it's definitely trending towards getting to 24. Couldn't quite get there. And had a conversation with the Pittsburgh media, had a conversation with Mike Tomlin, who's on the competition committee. And he said a big problem we're having with this conversation is there's really very few plays to go off of in the Tush Push world. I mean, I think it's well under 200 Tush Pushes have ever been called in the NFL. And all in all, that's kind of a small sample size, which leads me to a thing I've been thinking all along with it is I think it's going to be a very dangerous play. And I'm glad I've been wrong so far. I hope I'm not wrong this year and some prominent quarterback doesn't get hurt and that's why it gets banned a year from now. And I do think it'll probably get banned a year from now. I just think when you're not really in control of your body, getting pushed from behind, you don't protect yourself as well. And again, thankfully that has not happened. but it seems like a dangerous play to me. I also think it's really bad television, to be honest with you. I think it's not a fun play to watch as a fan at all.
That's my only argument against it. And I totally get, and people act like they're on an island where they're like, well, I guess this is an unpopular opinion. I'm the only one with this opinion. If you don't like it, then learn how to stop it. No, everybody's opinion. And of course,
sure,
it's just boring. I don't want to see it. And what we're going to see if it's legal is more of it. And to your point, and apparently, according to Albert Breer, Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie, assistant GM John Ferrari, and former center Chase and Kelsey spoke for around 45 minutes at this general session with the owners. And Kelsey's speech in particular focused on the mechanics of the play and how, in his view, it is not overly dangerous. There were some other owners, Jerry Jones, Jed York.
Maybe they're right. I mean, it just seems dangerous to me.
And it's not dangerous now, but does it become dangerous when teams get more aggressive trying to stop it? And so okay, then, and if all it takes is one guy to get twisted around underneath there, one big time quarterback, right? And then all of us, or a linebacker flying over the top, and then there's a helmet to helmet collision, and there's
I just think you get bent back easily, and
back in, whatever. So there is potential for there to be some injuries, and I get that it hasn't been, and maybe it won't ever be. That's not a good enough argument, really, for me anyway. Right now, the one thing is that it's boring, and I don't want to see it. And if it's legal, we're just going to see more teams doing weird stuff to try to stop it, probably, and more teams trying to be good at it, which is 200 plays is too many already. I don't want to see more, and they're pretty important plays too.
Yes, and like Washington at the goal line, jumping off sides every 2 seconds too. Like, I don't want to watch that. And, or is someone going to take a cheap shot, or I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of room for error there. From what I understand, and I think this is why there was somewhat of an error, is I think that they should have made the proposition to the owners that not that you can't tush push, but make it like it used to be, where you can't aid a ball carrier, period. And that's not the way it was worded from what I understand. Like, even a running back in the open field that gets kind of caught up, if someone runs behind him and pushes him, that should be illegal to me too. And when we were kids, it was illegal, or, I don't know when it went away, but at some point that went away, and I don't know why,
Yeah, it went away, and I'm not sure why. Then there's some talk about, maybe the way they line up is offsides and their heads over the ball, and some other things like that, which you should probably start to call, especially if it's giving them an advantage. And
I just think past the line of scrimmage, that's illegal. Right.
More teams are just going to get better at it and try it, and which is not going to be good football. So I hope that's not the case. That's really the only argument I have for it. Is it's boring, and I don't want to see more of it.
Agreed. I'm the same way. What I found interesting is I did Locked On Dynasty this morning, so I was talking to Marcus, and we had not gotten the verdict yet, but he asked, is Hurts's dynasty stock go down if the tush push it becomes illegal?
Fewer touchdowns.
Yeah, and Mike Clay, I guess, put this out on a tweet before, I guess he did this morning, saying he's great with projections at ESPN. He was going to take Hurts's touchdown production down 2.8 rushing touchdowns, but he was going to add 1 receiving touchdown to it if it became illegal.
There you go.
That's crazy. Yeah,
I like that.
But I bet it's not around much longer.
Yeah, if it's that close, does it garner more votes or less votes in the future would be the question. They keep putting on the table every year. Clearly, the league wants it out because they keep wanting it to be voted on, right? And did they? Because you said that there was a 16-16 vote. So I thought they said, well, let's table this and vote.
So they tabled it. Right.
So they're like, oh, it's not good enough. So let's try it again in a couple months. That's a big amount of teams that they convinced otherwise in 2 months.
That's what I'm thinking. By next owners meeting or next competition committee or whatever chance is, I bet they get to 24.
More notes from the owners meetings. There will be no changes to the playoff seeding, as I believe it was the Detroit Lions.
It was the Lions
wanted to put on the table. So no reseeding in the playoffs. We'll talk onside kicks, and we've got a team ready for hard knocks this summer, and it'll probably be a pretty good one with the Buffalo Bills. Some contract extensions as well next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The NBA playoffs in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And of course, you can still bet on the NFL. Tons of NFL futures, weekly lines already up over at FanDuel. And how about $200 in bonus bets to add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? That's right. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. All you got to do is head to FanDuel.com or download the app and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets to play along with the NBA playoffs and the NFL season. So make every moment more with FanDuel, official betting partner of the NBA. So the onside kick, I want to read the full explanation here, and they keep tweaking this onside kick thing. And the NFL owners have now passed the ruling that has allowed teams to declare an onside kick now anytime instead of just the fourth quarter, that they just have to be trailing. So anytime in the game, as long as you're trailing and you still have to declare it, then you can try an onside kick. And they will now kick from the 34-yard line, Matt, instead of the 35-yard line, which is a massive change. I guess
Okay.
It's designed to increase the success rate of onside kicks. So need that extra.
I didn't know that little tidbit, but I guess it makes a difference to kickers. You know, maybe it makes that double bounce easier or something. I don't know. That's weird.
It was only 6% success rate, by the way, last year.
Okay. So this obviously came up because of the Super Bowl. You know, the Chiefs were losing so much that they scored very late in the third quarter and would have liked to try an onside kick, but couldn't because it wasn't yet the fourth quarter. You know, so it kind of was a dumb rule to begin with. But remember, last year was the first year for the new kickoff rule, the dynamic kickoff. And I guess they just put the fourth quarter thing in and then realized quickly that there's no reason it has to be the fourth quarter. And this probably influences 3 to 6 plays in the whole course of the season. You know, I mean, it's not going to be many. The thing that I just don't see any way around that I wish was better was I wish we could still have a surprise onside. Because of the dynamic kickoff, you can't because it's a whole new alignment. You know, like you're telling the world, we are kicking an onside kick, which I like the surprise ones.
Yeah, the surprise one, even if you might think you're still not sure it's going to be an onside kick, so you're not going to play it the same way. And yeah, so it's going to be lower. Although 6%, like I wouldn't want it.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't want it more than like 10%. Like that'd be too often to hit an onside kick, I think.
I think it's still kind of an exciting play. It's not when you go get a beer or, you know, go to the bathroom, whatever. It ball's bouncing around and you got a chance to something to happen.
And especially in a close game, it could be a crucial play. Absolutely.
So we'll see a little more of them. But I wish the old surprise onside when everyone turns their back and runs too fast was still out there. You know, that the dribbler that the kicker falls on, you know.
Right. I love that where he just kind of taps it and then falls on it and everyone's running the other direction. Yeah.
Wish we still had that in the game, but that's such is life.
We've talked too much about tush pushes and in the kicking game in the NFL.
Yeah.
As boring as it is to watch, you know, I think talking about it might be in the same spot. So let's move on to offensive linemen. The Biggins are going to get their own award. The protector of the year.
I kind of like this, and something I've thrown out there is I kind of like how college football has the Blitnikoff Award for the best receiver, the Nagurski Award, and all those kinds of things. I wouldn't mind if the NFL did that. I mean, I understand that an all-pro vote is sort of the same thing, but if you had the Bob Lilly Award for the best defensive tackle and the Gale Sayers Award for best running back, I think that would be cool. But some kind of trench award, I think, is wonderful for best O-lineman. Cool. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Do you have to be a good pass blocker, or can you just be a good run blocker?
I don't like the name of it, right? I mean, we do two things here, right?
Road grader of the year.
Yeah. A big man of the year or whatever. The Anthony Munoz Award or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to be 300 pounds to win this award. The best player over 300 pounds award.
Okay. On offense. Yeah.
Or anywhere. Just big award. Because it's not like defensive tackles are winning a lot of awards either many times.
True.
Speaking of Biggins, Joe Tooney, New Bears guard Joe Thuney receiving a 2-year contract extension at $17.5 million per year, according to Adam Schefter's sources. So that's a $51 million contract over the next 3 years, added 2 years to the one he had, $33.5 million fully guaranteed, and an interior offensive lineman there getting paid. 32-year-old Joe Thuney, which means he'll be under contract through age 35 for the Bears.
Yeah, not a ton to add there. And in that, I still think he's one of the best guards in the league. Speaking of the Super Bowl, I mean, yes, he can play tackle, but you don't want him to. I mean, that's not why you're paying him. That's not why you traded for him. They have 3 tackles in Chicago after drafting the BC kid, and now they have an entirely new interior O-line. And so I commend their commitment to fixing the problem. You know, they really attacked this interior O-line, as did the Vikings. You know, it just went crazy on spending and fixing it. And extending him even shows that even further. You know, I mean, you hope he becomes a team leader and a veteran there for a couple of years, and especially when you have that young of a quarterback.
Nick Sirianni, probably no surprise when you win a Super Bowl, you get an extension as a head coach. Happens many times. It happened this time. Nick Sirianni sticking around in Philadelphia. Where would you rank Sirianni? Because this was a hot seat guy not that long ago.
Yeah, it's funny because not that long ago at all. I mean, let's think about 1 year ago, 365 days ago. What were we talking about with the Eagles? We were talking about, man, they collapsed down the stretch. You know, I think they lost their last 6, got kind of embarrassed in Tampa Bay as a wild card round, brought in new defensive coordinator, new assistants. Man, Sirianni's on the hot seat, and vastly different now. You win the Super Bowl, you're best team in the league. Boom, you get the extension. I guess it's good. I mean, I don't put him with the elite coaches, and I need more of a body of work. It's probably unfair to Sirianni, but he has been surrounded by awesome assistants and probably the best GM. And maybe we give the front office a little too much credit and the head coach not quite enough. But hey, you win the Super Bowl, you deserve a raise. You know?
There's a conspiracy theory out there that the NFL, like the league, wants the tush push out, and they use Hard Knocks as a leveraging tool to get certain teams to change their vote, like the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, really?
Because the Niners are a team that would have been eligible to be on Hard Knocks, and they don't want to be on Hard Knocks. And
most teams don't.
The theory, right, and the theory is, and the Buffalo Bills, one of the teams that voted for it to stay, right? And so they ended up with Hard Knocks, and teams like the 49ers and some others that were eligible for Hard Knocks that the league would have loved to have on Hard Knocks ended up voting to end the tush push. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the Buffalo? I don't think that's super likely, but that's an interesting theory. And I think the league could probably do some of those things behind the scenes for sure. And the Buffalo Bills, are you tuning into Hard Knocks with the Buffalo Bills?
Start there. Yes. I think more Josh Allen, the better. I mean, I really think he is a utter superstar. And I get these emails from the league through the Steelers, and I guess today is his 29th birthday, by the way. How about that? Happy birthday to Josh Allen. And I think the number was he has like 30 more touchdowns than anyone on their 29th birthday in league history. And him and Mahomes have them tied for most wins as a starter by their 29th birthday. I mean, I think we might not understand how great he is, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, and great quarterbacks getting great younger and earlier than they did in the past. And how long quarterbacks play as well, because 29 years old for a running back, you're out of your prime. Your prime is over.
Yeah,
for
we might get
you've
10
just
more years of them.
Recently entered your prime, right? Like what's the prime age for a quarterback? 27, 28 to 35?
Yeah, right. And even if his wheels decrease a little bit, he's still going to be big, strong, and can throw it through a wall, and smart and all those things. And yeah, I look at him and Burrow and Lamar in particular and think, man, what a great quartet of quarterbacks we have, including Mahomes. And Manning was that way. It took him a while until Manning got that ring, but the second half of these guys' career, those three, might be littered with rings for the Bengals, Ravens, and Bills, and especially the Ravens and Bills. Like, let's not say, boy, they can't win the big one yet.
Bills are a good choice. Star quarterback, compelling team, trying to get over the hump and trying to win a Super Bowl. So I think it'll be a good one. We'll definitely tune in to that.
Real quick on Hard Knocks, I do have some insight on this too, because actually the fellow that's in charge of Hard Knocks is a year younger than me in high school, from my high school, and he's a friend of mine, Keith Cosrow. We should get him on the show. He's a great dude.
Yeah,
but he's in charge. He's been working for NFL Films basically since college. Super successful. But like when you go to the first credit, you'll see Keith Cosrow, and they did the AFC North last year, so they were always around the Steeler facility. Like they did the division. They didn't just focus on the Steelers, but it's pretty impressive seeing them in action. Like they're always like hiding in the shadows, and frankly, they took up way too many of our parking spots and had to park from farther away and things like that. But they weren't that obtrusive, and no team wants them there. And Keith, I've had beers with them, and he's like, nobody's really nice to us. They don't want us around at all, But it's a pretty interesting phase of it all, And I guess there'll be another division this year too.
We need a Hard Knocks of the Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
I'll
give him a buzz sometime. We'll get him on the show.
Fantastic. Let's do that. Absolutely. Next, there's a few more extensions to talk about. Fred Warner was a big one from this week. The 49ers getting a lot done, locking up some of their foundational pieces and more.
We can have a quick flag football conversation too. I think it's kind of funny.
I'm all about it. I love the flag football. As a former flag football MVP, Matt, grow the game, in my opinion. Let's talk flag football next. When you talk about an athletic quarterback that maybe carries the ball too much and isn't isn't really a polished passer, that was my scouting report as a flag football quarterback. As a young man, I would throw the occasional button hook, but I was just looking to run any old time I could, and that was a lot of fun being a flag football quarterback, because the coaches didn't really care if you threw the ball much anyway. And so it was just like, who's fast? Let's get you the ball and run. And so handed off a few times, and mostly I was just trying to take off and run as a young kid. I had no idea what I was doing on a football field, though. But that was my only time playing quarterback, and I just ran every single time I could.
Okay. My experience is a little different in that my son is now 18 years old, but when he was like 6, our community here, Upper St. Clair, outside of Mount Lebanon, or outside of Pittsburgh, decided to create flag football. So I coached a team and I helped write the rule book. It was the first year when he was 6. And needless to say, we wore maroon shirts, and the Maroon 6 held the trophy for the first time.
Nice.
I outcoached Steelers offensive coordinator Todd Haley towards the title. I mean, The Maroon 6 were tough. Yeah.
Love it.
Do you think many of these NFL players will actually do it though? Because I mean, it's right around this time of year, like mini camps on the horizon. Then it would be Olympic time. Then you go right to camp.
Well, teams for sure will do whatever they can and probably write it into contracts. So their stars won't be allowed because it'll be in the contracts for them not to be able to do it, I would imagine. Right.
Well, we know the rule just went by that they are allowed now. But I mean, I'm sure some teams could write in the contract.
To make it still, unless the idea of the rule is that you can't stop them, essentially.
Right.
Not only are they allowed,
it was a unanimous vote. All 32 said, "Let's do it."
I get it. Growing the game of football globally, I think that's
the whole
big
key.
part of it.
Yeah.
I've watched some flag football. It's not super exciting. It's just it's a completely different sport, which is also why the best flag football players in the world probably won't be the best tackle football players in the world. So I don't know.
There are a lot of smaller, quicker guys, right?
Yeah, and it's just a different game. There's some. And I mean, obviously, these guys are freak athletes and awesome, and they play 7-on-7, which is,
Is it 7? I wanted to look at the rules.
Yeah.
I think they're 12-man rosters, so some guys must play both ways.
Yeah. I can't remember the guy's name, but just watching him play, I was thinking, I don't know how beneficial, and because I think knowing your teammates and having a plan is still very important in football. And if you take the best player in the league and just plop him on a team, you don't know the playbook. Is he going to be the best player in the league for that team, especially offensively and even defensively? So it's a little bit different of a game. I don't think it's a slam dunk that the best flag football players will be NFL players unless they really put the time in and the work in and get it all together. And will they be part of a team? And will they force NFL players onto a team to the detriment of the team?
So you don't think it's like Bird, Magic, Barkley, Jordan, Dream Team? Like
the exact same sport.
Right. They don't have, right. They can practice together a little and be fine.
It's a different sport.
But don't you think, I don't know, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I've not watched professional flag or adult flag or not 6-year-old flag, but don't you think the best flag receiver on the planet isn't getting off press coverage from Patrick Surtain?
Yeah, I would say, obviously, athletically, that's not going to be the problem. It's just the quarterback and the receivers and everybody being on the same page is kind of the deal, and the rules of it and where you can be and what you can do, what you physically can do and what you can't do. Because can you be that physical in flag football? I don't even know. Like, is that even a...
Like, we had a pass rush, but they had to count the 3-1,000.
Right.
So there was a blocker,
That's the other thing is like, when do you send your rusher? When do you not?
And you got one blitz per 4 downs.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's not such a difficult sport that these NFL guys that are insane athletes and awesome at the sport couldn't figure out. Right. But just
like, I'm sure Tyreek Hill would be fine.
Right. But will they have the time to come together and make the best team possible? Will they players, or would you have a mix of guys who are awesome at flag NFL players and put those together? Or is it just going to be straight up NFL guys? And we're just kind of showcasing NFL players at this point and be like, doesn't matter who actually the best flag guys are in the world. We're going to put 12 NFL guys out there. So,
yeah, I know. I just think it's an interesting wrinkle. I mean, could the quarterback that just retired the year before be like, I'm going to go try the Olympics out and just,
maybe he would make for the best player because he could put the time in.
Yeah, right. The year after Brady retires, I know he's not as mobile as most of them, but he's just out there throwing bullets,
Yeah, with Cam Newton.
Right. The day he retired, he's to be that guy. But you're not breaking tackles,
That's true. Drew Brees out there throwing dimes, right? Yeah.
I know I went Travis Hunter. That might be my first pick. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah. Tyreek and Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter can play both ways for sure. How about Travis Hunter playing both ways in the NFL, then going and playing both ways in flag all summer, then going into training camp again to play both ways again? Right. Run himself ragged.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious how it goes. I mean, we were talking about this on the Steelers show, and we thought quarterbacks like Huntley might be interesting, or Riley Leonard, or, someone's a good athlete, or Hill, somebody that's not a starter and doesn't want to risk their career, but this would be a fun thing to do and live in the Olympic Village. And,
Yeah. So could some of these 2021 NFL draft revisited? It's going to be an episode coming up this summer about Zach Wilson or Trey Lance make good on the flag football field.
Yeah.
Instead of the NFL field.
It's like when people went to the Canadian Football League or whatever,
Right.
But I know they're really making a push to pump up flag, which is great. The NFL is, and the international relations, which is huge to them. So that's why it got passed.
Matt, did you find it interesting that Shamar Stewart, Bengals first round is the only draft pick or first round pick that is not, he's not the only one not signed still, but he's the only one not practicing and going to minicamp and OTAs and stuff while he is unsigned. And he showed a picture of him standing there at practice, kind of watching. And there's a disagreement over contract language, according to Jordan Schultz. And so phase 2 of workouts starts. And so he wasn't rookie minicamp practicing, and he's not going to be in phase 2 of the offseason workouts practicing. Is this a Bengals thing? Is this a Shamar Stewart thing? Just seems really weird because nobody else is really doing this, because we haven't had, there's really no reason to ever talk about rookie contracts anymore.
No, right. What I thought of right away was when Joey Bosa got drafted, which was a while ago, but not insanely. It's not like we were kids, and he was still slotted.
Yes.
But the language was all about if you get hurt in these mini camps or whatever. Yeah. And I wonder if the Bengals, you
end up on another team, and just
that's why I thought it's a team thing, a Bengal thing.
And I wonder if just because of where he was drafted, middle of the first round, if there's like a shift where the first 16 picks kind of get the offset language, and then 17 through 32 tend to not. Yeah. And then the ones in the middle are the ones where it's like, well, this guy got it last year, but before that, they hadn't really got that offset language. And could that be something that is just like something that teams and agents would really disagree on, whether the 17th pick should be having this certain language versus not? Is it a Bengals thing? Is it an agent thing for Shamar Stewart? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I wish I knew more about it. But I just know that I know it's only May. There's a long time till we play football. But as raw as he is, he's not the one I want sitting out of the 32. You know.
And the only other note I have on the rookie signings is guys like Shamar Stewart. I saw that he signed his contract and just saw the total money of what a rookie deal is for a fifth rounder. It's like, man, this dude's taking a pay cut for what he was getting from NIL.
Oh yeah.
College. And then you mentioned Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Same deal. Yeah. Any of these quarterbacks that went to big time schools, were big time players in college, are taking a pay cut to go to the NFL.
If you're a late pick, 100%. Yep. I think that's going to be more and more common.
Which means more and more guys are going to stay, right?
Mm-hmm. And then they'll come in the league more NFL ready,
right? Or even transfer away for another. Because I think Quinn Ewers might have had.
Ewers could have
another year, right? Would he have?
Should have.
I think Texas was going to play. Texas should have played Arch Manning last year. Quinn Ewers is not that good, but he probably could have got some NIL money to go play at some other school for one more year.
Yeah. And side note, I've done a little bit of Arch Manning research in the last week or so. He's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
The march for Arch.
Yeah.
Is on.
It might be another year from now, though. He's no hurry to come out.
The other extension was Fred Warner. The 49ers getting a lot of work done. We don't have much time to talk about it. And there's not much to talk about it.
He deserves every penny.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best linebacker in the league. He got a little bit more added to the deal, some more guarantees in the short term as he got towards the end of his deal, but he still had a couple more years left on his contract. So this was more about, and they did the same thing with Trent Williams last year. It's like, okay, you dropped to the number 2 highest paid linebacker in the league. Well, guess what? Now you're number 1 again. So.
Yeah, right. And he's clearly number 1 to me. And what he does, is he the easiest, best player at his position in the league?
Yeah, because of how he plays
so rare
and the pass, and he's so good at both, and he's a straight up leader, and he's so important. And with all the young players the 49ers having coming in on the defensive side of the ball with Robert Saleh, there's going to be a lot of rookies on the field, and he's got the green dot.
Yeah.
Have to get everybody lined up, and he's such an important factor of that team, leader, locker room guy. He's the
versatility, right?
Yeah, so just like slam dunk guy, just across the board. There's no negatives to his game. Played all of last year too in a season where he could have shut it down because the season was not going well for a 6-win team and everyone else was hurt. He had a broken ankle since week 4. Played all the way through the entire season, every game.
It's amazing. I was listening to a Greg Cosell podcast too, and he mentioned he found it really interesting. We've seen all these linebackers that really struggle early in their career that are drafted high, off the ball guys, not edge guys.
Yeah.
But he mentioned Bond and Warner weren't really off the ball linebackers in college, and they were the 2 All-Pros this year.
Right. Yeah, they were star position. Essentially, just draft every college team's star position player, whatever you want to call it, that overhang safety / linebacker player, because that's where they put their best players, because they impact the game, right?
Yep,
and where that guy in the NFL plays that type of position, plays outside backer, plays strong safety, plays free safety, plays inside linebacker, plays outside corner, plays nickel, whatever it is, it behooves those college teams to have their best players be close to the ball more instead of just being out somewhere where they can be avoided. And so it's, you look at all these types of players, even like the Jalen Petries and Cooper DeJean, it's like, there's so many of these guys that hit the NFL and they played that similar role in college a lot. And no matter where they play in the NFL, it's just a smart place to scout for talent.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're running out of time here, but like a recruiting trick we did back in the day was we would recruit like 5 running backs every year, knowing they were like the best player on their high school team. 2 of them are going to turn into a linebacker. One of them might turn into a receiver or a corner or safety, that type of deal. Just get them in the building.
Yeah, you look at college rosters and you're like, everybody everywhere was like the former running back, former quarterback. Yeah. And now they had to change positions and some of them become offensive tackles. Some of them become defensive linemen, and a lot of them become every other position out there too. Yeah.
We had a conversation on my Steelers show today with Jack Sawyer from Ohio State.
Yeah.
he played quarterback for 1 year because their quarterback got hurt. He's a 260-pound edge rusher. He was a top recruit in the country. I mean, he's like he was our best guy, so we just gave him the ball, and he couldn't really throw that well, but we didn't care.
Yeah, but the
key was his coach. I'm sorry, we talked to his high school coach.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing with Fred Warner or whoever else that plays that position in college, because it prepares you, because you have to be good against the run and the pass. And
smart.
I mean, so positionless in the NFL that no matter what position you actually are going to play in the NFL, it helps you transition there, because that's what the league is about. And it's just because you're fast doesn't mean you're going to be good in coverage in the NFL, which is why a lot of these linebackers, I think, fail compared to what we think they're going to be in the league, especially those early first-round guys. Fred Warner was a third-rounder. It seems insane.
So many first-round linebackers are failing quickly, and I bet we see less and less getting picked in the first round.
Get your questions in for this week's Peacock and Williamson mailbag at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL, or drop a question in the YouTube comments and subscribe while you're there. Matt and I back tomorrow right here, Peacock and Williamson.